Alright, what's going on guys? It's Almond. Welcome back to another Wizard 101 video. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. It's like a podcast type thing and just talking about a little bit of ideas of Wiz. And I actually have a special guest. We have Ultimate Speedster or Speedster with us. So how you doing, my friend?
What's poppin'? It's your boy Ultimate Speedster. How you doing today, Almond?
I'm doing pretty good, just vibing. We're going to be talking about some ideas for Wiz, some topics that I see in the community, everything like that. So what do you do on YouTube? Let the people know about yourself.
Well, I'm a Wizard 101 YouTuber and streamer. Also do Pirate 101 as well. Just a gamer, really. Enjoying Wiz, the usual stuff.
Yes, sir. So if you guys do want to go check him out, I'll leave a link in the description to his channel and everything like that. You can check him out for whether it's Wiz, whether it's Pirate, or just even some fun live streams that he does on his spare time. So hey, wait, stop the video for a second. All right, I need to let you guys know this because I forgot to mention it in the video. So I'll let you guys know. Obviously, check out Speedster in the description if you guys haven't. Also, I recorded a video on his channel, so that should be coming up later on the day. So definitely go give him some support, give him some subscribers, subscribe to him, check out that channel, check out his video as well that we recorded. I appreciate you. And yeah, let's get into the rest of the content. We have like a different bunch of topics listed, and we're just gonna be talking each and individual one, getting his thoughts, getting my thoughts, and pretty straightforward. If you guys do want to see more stuff like this, be sure to leave a like on this video, be sure to subscribe, and remember that 90% of you guys that watch me on a daily basis are not subscribed. So if you guys can do me a huge favor, subscribe. It's free. You guys can always subscribe later. And also, if you guys want to see more people in this podcast type thing, I can definitely message other Wiz YouTubers or even just other people in general, and they can just hop on and we can just talk about a bunch of other topics and just give KI more information, I guess you can say, on more player base and get their opinions on little things here and there. So for the first topic is Aquila spells. So Aquila spells meaning the Zeus spell, meaning having Kronos, having Poseidon, just a bunch of those enemies in Aquila and turning them into actual spells. So I have all the jewels listed up. We're gonna start off with the death one. So you summon Hades, Wrath of Hades. It's a 9-pip spell. It does 1175 after 3 rounds. So it's kind of like a burning rampage, but it only does that specific damage after 3 rounds. So what is your thoughts on that specific spell? Would you like that as a spell? Do you think it would be a huge issue to the game of having that as a spell? What do you think?
Well, I really don't see a problem with that spell, only because it's 9 pips. So I think they're getting what they paid for, basically. I think it's good all around. Even though it's going to be doing a lot of damage, it's only after 3 rounds, but I think it's worth it for the death school. Yeah,
because it's not really overtime for the first 2 turns, because you can actually, if you are life and you are, let's say for PvP, for example, even, you can just triage it off. It's like a burning rampage. You can even shift it to the other enemy, stuff like that. So I don't think it's going to have a big impact, but I mean, I don't get what the issue is having this as an actual spell. Then if we move over to the life jewel, we have the Wrath of Apollo. So it's a 9-pip spell as well, 90 accuracy. So it does 650 damage to all. And gives a 30% to the next incoming heal spell to everybody on your team. So I'm assuming it's like a AoE bubble type thing, and whoever gets healed on your next teammates, or maybe if it's like a little shield or even a blade, pretty straightforward. So that's what it does. What are your thoughts on that? Same thing, 9-pip spells, and it's a life.
And you said it does like 150 to each enemy?
It does 650 to every enemy.
Okay, so 150 every enemy, and then gives a plus 30 blade to healing blade to each friend.
Yeah.
I'm not really too sure. It seems pretty beneficial, but the thing is, 9 pips, that's a lot of pips, and you can only carry up to like maybe 12 pips full power pip wise. So that being there, maybe the damage need to be buffed just a little bit. Maybe instead of like 650, it'll probably be like 850, because after that all you're doing is really the healing blades. So even when you have the healing blades on, you're gonna need pips to heal somebody with like rebirth,
Yeah,
so,
or Pixie's actually viable now.
Okay, Pixie, yeah, so like you're gonna need like a backup with like Pixie. That's the only combo I can really think of right now between the Apollo spell and the Pixie spell.
But you don't think you wouldn't mind it as a spell, do you?
I wouldn't mind it personally, no.
Then we're going to move on to the myth one. So instead of it being Zeus, because a lot of people for some reason thought Zeus was going to be the myth one, but it's actually Kronos. So what Kronos does, 9-pip spell. So all these spells are 9 pips. So for the myth one, 9 pip spell is 80 accuracy instead of 90. It does 950 damage to all, and it removes a positive and a shield, but that's after it hits. It's not before. So that's what the spell does. What is your thoughts on that?
That's a lot. That's gonna be a lot. So it moves like a positive blade and a shield itself too.
So it just removes it to all the enemies. It's whoever you're hitting in one particular. I'm assuming it's an AoE because it doesn't specify. Well, obviously since a lot of the graphics changes have changed, so it doesn't specify if it's an AoE, but I would assume it's an AoE that does it on all, because that's how the Zeus one works. That's how every other one works. Especially the balance one. The balance one's the only one that does a single target, and the fire one, I believe. But every other one is like AoE. So it does 958 base and removes a blade and a shield on the enemy.
Yeah, like that's a lot. But like I can't complain about them because it's 9 pips. Like that's the thing about all these spells. Like they're 9 pips, so they're really getting used well. You feel me?
Yeah.
So that I'll be mad if it's used on me. Don't get me wrong. But I can't be mad that if it gets added and somebody uses it. Like I think that's really beneficial. And if they enchant it more with like monstrous or gigantic, you know,
yeah, that's gonna do a lot of damage, but at the same time you are wasting 9 pips and you are getting a beneficial out of it by removing a blade and removing a shield. And PvP, I think it could be really viable, but at the same time you guys got to realize it's 9 pips.
Yeah, like that. There's the thing, 9 pips. Like once you cast that spell, you're almost out of gas. You're not gonna have a lot of pips left. So once you use that, you better hope it kills him, or he got to reset his whole plan when you fight him back.
So it's either you blade up and use this hit to counter someone else's strategy, or like you have some type of strategy going along with this. But I wouldn't mind this as a spell personally.
I wouldn't mind either.
Yeah. Then we have the balance one. Balance one is actually a bit different. It's like a Hydra, it's like a Chimera. So what it does is it's a 9 pip. It's a Wrath of Aquila. So the spell actually looks like this guy over here, which is actually convenient. We're actually next to him. So it's actually him, and he either chooses between using all the elements or using the spirits. So if he does all the elements, he does 275 per element. So he would do 275 fire, 275 storm, and 275 ice. And on top of that, he will do 275 balance hit as well. And then obviously vice versa for the spirit schools, he'll do the exact same thing and then hit with the balance spell at the end. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good spell for balance, I believe. You know, they really doing a lot of damage with that from each school hitting, like each 3 elements.
Yeah, so it can either be elements or spirits.
Yeah, so like those 3 hitting and then the balance hit alone too. So that's a lot of damage that's going to be done. You know, it's 275 basically times on 4. So
yeah, and I feel like for PvP, just even though I'm not much of a PvP, I don't know about you, but for me, whenever I see this, if I saw this spell in PvP, when it comes to, depending on who you're facing, if you're facing a balance, maybe like versus a storm, and that storm doesn't have a good amount of resist or doesn't have enough shields, and let's say you just only have 1 tower shield, each hit doesn't, so if someone has a tower shield, it's not going to remove 25 or use 50% or minus 50% on the entire spell. It's only that specific hit. So all the other ones are still going to be doing full damage. That shield's only going to be resisting against one of those attacks.
So like of Hydra,
but it's like Hydra, it's like Chimera, something like that.
And it does like an extra balance it too, and more damage. So like, yeah, that's a lot that's gonna go on. And like for a storm, like you said, man, storm don't got a lot of resist. They can't take a lot of damage. They just can't. They meant to do the punching. So them like that, they won't be able to stand to fight that long.
And the thing is, you can't predict what it's going to hit. So if you are blading as a balance, you have to just hopefully blade up with your balance blades, because if you use your elements, or if like, let's say you blade up and use elemental blades, you're not 100% sure it's going to hit elementals, because you can hit spirits. You would have to blade up both schools or both elements, or elements and spirits, and just hope, you know, that it picks one of the ones that you bladed. So that's the only caveat I would say about using this spell. But overall, for 9 pips, I believe it's decent for what it's worth. Especially if you chant it. I can imagine the damage on it. Then we have the storm one, which I feel like it needed, and this needs a buff in my opinion, because Myth kind of already has a spell like this, which what they're going to be getting, and I believe Life is getting a pip or a spell like this as well in the upcoming updates. So it's called Wrath of Zeus. So you cast Zeus, he does 955 damage, storm, and he casts a bubble. So the thing is, this attack is on everybody. It's like a Stormlord for more pips. And also it does a 25 bubble. What are your thoughts on that?
That's pretty good. And it's 9 pips, right?
It's 9 pips, 70 accuracy as a storm.
Yeah, that's pretty good then. I agree. Yeah, that's pretty good. It matches basically with bugs with the damage, and instead of taking away the blades, it will just give a bubble, which the bubble will be really good. Yeah, so I think it'll be a good spell for them to have. The damage I'm satisfied with personally, the 955, because all the other spells are like 955. You know, even the new Sound of Musicology that Storm just got is close to being like 955, I believe.
So when I see this spell, I'm gonna be interrupted real quick. I think they need to nerf the damage on it. If I'm gonna be completely honest, that's because 955, and let's say you enchant it, that's more damage than the Sirens.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So I think they would need to nerf it, because you also do get a bubble with it, so you could follow up with a hit if you need to.
Oh yeah.
But overall, it seems like a cool spell. It's a hit AoE, and it's actually hitting your straight damage on the target. So it's like a Lord. It's not like you're hitting 700 to 900. You're hitting the damage that's on the dot. So that's kind of what I like about the spell. But overall, doesn't need a damage nerf on it if they actually do make this a spell. Then we have Fire, which is your school. Wrath of Ares. So Ares is an actual spell too. It's not just Hephaestus, I believe. They actually have Ares as well. So Wrath of Ares, which I feel like this would be really good for PvP. I want to see someone doing a strategy with this. Wrath of Ares, 9 pips, 75 accuracy. So it does 665 damage, and it detonates in overtime. What do you think?
The detonate feature I really don't use a lot personally. But the 655 you said?
Yeah, 665, and you detonate in overtime.
So really, I wish the damage was a little bit better.
Yeah, they'll probably buff it.
Because like how they murdered Ifrit, for example, for PvP, which I was super angry about, guys. You know, I was heated for days about how they just butchered Ifrit like that. Yeah, it was treacherous. So I wish they'll just boost that one, because it doing like 650 damage. You know, that sounds like it should be a spell for like, I don't know, Myth or something like that. Like Fire is it's one, like, it's not the highest hitting school, but Fire knows how to do damage, you know, itself with spells.
So my caveat about this spell, there's a reason why I'm saying this is really good for Fire, and I'll explain why. So you guys have Burning Rampage. Imagine someone uses Burning Rampage and then follows up with Wrath of Ares. You're doing so much damage. You can, because someone's gonna shield that turn to protect themselves against the the detonate or like the overtime of Burning Rampage. So to destroy it, you would destroy their shield and you would detonate to kill them. I feel like I want to see somebody try that in PvP, if this, or even just have this as a jewel, because it is a jewel. I want to see someone attempt that with PvP, combining Burning Rampage and using Wrath of Ares. I feel like that would be a really cool concept when it comes to PvP. When it comes to PvE, I don't think the spell is going to be as useful, because there's many other spells that I would rather use for 9 pips, especially as a Fire. They can probably just Fire Dragon or even just Meteor. It would be way more beneficial than using the spell. But I feel like in PvP, I think it could be viable. And the last spell, which is Ice. Ice actually got Wrath of Poseidon. I honestly thought Poseidon was going to be for Storm, and I thought Myth was going to get Zeus, but this is just how they're going. So Wrath of Poseidon. So this actually seems really cool. It reminds me of the spell that they're actually going to be releasing soon. It's Wrath of Poseidon. It's Ice, 9 pips, 80 accuracy. It steals a positive first, and then it hits with 650 damage. What do you think?
It steals a positive and do.
And then it hits 650.
650?
Yeah.
Well,
it reminds me of a Mythic Colossus.
Yeah, so that, yeah. I don't know. It's just the damage the damage makes sense. They're Ice. Ice is technically supposed to be a tanking school. But I feel like they'll want more damage out of it, to be honest. You know, other than just stealing the shield. You know, I feel like they'll want more. So maybe instead of like 650, they'll probably boost it like to maybe 750.
Yeah, and then plus on chancing it as well would do like almost 1,000. So pretty good. I don't have any regards against this. Maybe the only reason I would understand it has this steal positive is because ice is more tanky, so they can steal positive and have more shields on them, be more tanky essentially, and having that identity as their school. So no caveat to this other than maybe boost damage, because it almost does the same amount as Ares. Ares does 665 while Poseidon does 650, which kind of is a shocker because how is ice catching up to fire in damage right there? But at the time when this became a jewel, which is level 95 and 100 was the cap, it made sense because, you know, there wasn't a prospering school other than Storm at the time. So now it's like fire is actually catching up, you know, it has a lot of damage now. So they definitely need to upgrade the fire damage and upgrade the ice damage on that spell. But those were the topic. That was the first topic of this conversation, was the aqua spells. I wouldn't mind many of them to be spells. What about you? What do you think, Speedster?
These spells are really good. I think they're going to change the game a bit. It's always good that they change the game, just not too crazy. The 9 pips, you always want to make sure you're using them wisely, especially in a PvP match. Every pip counts. I'm not that good at PvP, but I just know in general, you want to use your pips to the maximum ability. From it being like even 8 pips or 7 pips, you want to make sure they're used very well. So as long as the spells do decent damage and have useful abilities, you know, besides the damage, then they'll be all right. I think people in PvP will be happy about it.
Yeah, I believe that too. I think even for some of these, for PvE, when it just comes to like fighting mobs, I feel like some of these spells are actually going to be useful for some schools. In particular, I feel like the life one, maybe if they boost the damage on that, maybe it might be better than Forest Lord, but you know, it's only going to be useful in some certain scenarios. But I feel like the death one out of all of them need a rework, mainly because it is a spell that hits all on everybody. So if there's multiple targets, it will, you know, it will detonate basically on the 3rd round, doing 1,175. But I feel like if they want to make that spell a little bit better, instead of it being 3 rounds, turn it to 2 rounds, or maybe even like 1 round after, something like Burning Rampage, because I don't think anyone wants to wait 3 rounds for this to do almost 1,175 damage. So maybe change that. But the damage on it is perfect, I believe. It's very good for death. But yeah, pretty straightforward. So when it comes to the next topic was key dungeons. We want to talk about different key dungeons ideas because we haven't had a new one other than Fellspawn, and I want to like talk about what ideas we have, things that we can see coming soon. You know, what world would, you know, Speedster like to see, everything like that. So what are your key dungeon ideas? What kind of boss would you want to see?
The kind of bosses I would like to see, well, it's always good to bring back, you know, villains that we fought from before in the past, either it being from Chrysalis, Polaris, you know, Mirage. You know, I kind of hated Mirage. It's good. You know, old bosses, old faces. It's good all the time. So it being from one of those worlds, it'll be good to see. And when they do these kind of things, key bosses, you always want valuable stuff from it. So either being a fresh wand or being a super rare amulet that gets dropped, you want the good stuff from the key bosses. That what makes it worth playing the key bosses.
Yeah, I can understand that because we haven't, mainly the key bosses that like I see a couple people farm is mainly the spell ones, or just even just Fellspawn, I guess. That's about it. That's all I really see people talk about at the moment, but no one really farms any of the other ones. They just kind of got outdated. So if I had to choose one, I would want some type of boss that's a gold key boss, or maybe even add new ones that are, you know, that's more free to play friendly, I guess you can say. Add some new ones into Wiz City, because so more people can enjoy it. They can easily add one in Haunted Cave in the corner. Add that bunny dungeon from Halloween and actually just make that into a key boss that a lot of people can farm as a free to play player. And then you can farm the keys off of Lord Nightshade, off the Harvest Lord, stuff like that. So people are low level that don't want to buy full membership, they can at least do something in Wiz City other than just farm the Kraken all the time and Triton Avenue with like everyone else. So I would want to see something like that.
I would like for them to make Wizard City free in general, to be honest.
I honestly, they should, because it gets more of like a, if you're brand new to the game and you want to experience the game, let us be able to finish the first world, and then from there, if we like, you know, we like the story, we like how gameplay is and everything like that, people will probably continue buying if they just get a, you know, get a gist of how the first world actually plays out.
Right. Because King's if you listen to this, I love you. You feel me? But like, listen up, man. It's like what, 14 worlds inside the game?
One world isn't gonna ruin anything.
Yo, if people play Wizard City completely free, they'll get more connected to the game. They'll love it more, other than just doing Triton Avenue, and they can go on the Cyclops Lane and complete the missions, or Firecat Alley, and it'll be way more.
Literally, me, when I didn't buy membership yet, all I would see was just everyone chilling at fighting the Kraken over and over and over. That's all people would do, because there's nothing else you could do really. And people would go to like the housings and go to people's houses and try to do Pagoda, try to do Winterbane, but you can't do that anymore, which kind of sucks. I don't know why that's not a thing anymore. Like, you can't go to people's houses and do the dungeons anymore. You have to be friends with them, or they actually have to be like you actually have to like know them basically, which kind of sucks, because I like that aspect of, if you're just grinding Mega Snacks or something like that, like as a free-to-play player, definitely like that was like the route. But now it's like kind of locked that you have to find somebody and they have to actually do the dungeon with you or something like that. You can't just go in like with random people in the housings like how we used to be able to, which kind of sucks. But there's probably a reason why they made that as an option.
Right. King's make Wizard City free. Sign the petition.
Honestly. Another topic, will Morganth come back? What do you think?
This is a major topic, man. Major. The reason I say this, and I'm super focused on, like, yo, Morganth, she was a pretty decent villain, and the reason I think that she was a really decent villain, or a good villain, she was the first one to actually defeat us. And what I mean by that is, she was actually able to destroy a world we couldn't save, and that was Azteca. And since we actually took a L for the first time, I got to give her prompts for that. She actually succeeded and brought back our nemesis. So I think she would come back, and I would like to see her come back.
What form do you think she would be coming back in? As like an exalted dungeon? Do you think it would be a key, or something related to like Malice, or how we had Darkmoor?
I would like to see her come back from, like, similar to how Malice came back from, how like one of the new arc bosses, main villains, bring her back, and she's kind of like damaged, or kind of like not kind of ripped apart, just damaged, but she's revived, I guess, or just she more infused with like shadow magic in a way.
Like an example, do you think Omen would be a good example to compare? Because Omen, he has Shadow Sentinel, he has Shadow Shrike, and then Shadow Seraph with him. So would you see something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think if Morganth was to come back, I feel like they'll do something somewhere along the lines of like Malister, like a side dungeon, maybe like 150 is going to be like the strat. 150 is like when everything comes back, maybe. Because if you think about it, 50 is when we finish around that level. You technically should have finished Malister. 50 levels later, Malister comes back. We finish Morganth around level 100. 50 levels later, she comes back. I feel like that's the route that they're going, and it's very possible. It's very possible. And the thing is, she was internally falling. If you guys did the dungeon, she just kept on falling and falling and falling. So at a certain point, I feel like she'll fall out of that portal that you've come out of, like when we fought herself in Caramel. For some reason, I feel like she's gonna come out that portal and become into like a more shadow infused creature that we have never faced. Maybe even stronger than Old Cobb himself, with all that time she had by herself, so she can practice her while she's falling. She can still practice her magic. She can still do all that stuff, because if you're internally falling, you're never going to hit the ground, so you're never going to die. So you can still technically keep doing what you're doing, but at one point I feel like our shadow self is gonna basically make us fight her again in some sort of way. So I would actually be excited for that.
That would be really, I just hope they just don't really literally copy and paste how they did Malister. Don't like remix it a bit, Don't make it exactly like copy and paste how they did Malister. Even though I want to come back like Malister, don't make it like as easy as like she did, Yeah,
I want to see some intense cheats. I want to see some type of outer force playing a part. Like for Malister, we had like the dragon. For Caramel, we had like ourself basically in the background, changing the aura, changing the bubbles, and giving us spells. I want to see more bosses that play an outer force into the realm of fighting. It actually seems really cool. Stuff like that. then we have another topic, which honestly I feel like is a touchy topic, and it's talked about in the community, is Ship of Fool spells and the Celestian Spellament pack, and just spellaments in general. What are your thoughts behind it? Of just having Ship of Fools, the only way you can actually get that spell, and even your fire spell, the only way you can get it is from collecting enough spellaments from opening those packs. What do you think about that?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of the spellament aspects at all. And it being the only way for you to get that spell, I think it's kind of like it's money grabsy. You know, you literally have to use real cash to go ahead in the crown shop and buy the packs to hopefully get the spellament. You might not even get the spellament that you actually want multiple times.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed.
Right. So like you just wasting money on packs that you don't even really know what you're going to get out of it. Like, you know, but it's not guaranteed each time. And also like with the death spell, like death, I have a death level 74, and I know it was super tough going all the way to the first arc and getting to Dragonspire and just learning Scarecrow at the very end of Dragonspire. So it's an AoE, the Ship of Fool spell. You know, I think it would be really useful for death to be used. I think they should be able to train it differently, like easier access to it. Because just questing with just one-hit spells or singular hit spells is not cutting it for death, especially questing all through like 5 worlds without Scarecrow.
Yeah. So my thought process behind this is, if they want to change this and they still want to keep the spellman aspect, is let us train the first tier. Like what they did was with Caramel and with the Storm and the Fire, you got to learn your initial spell, which is very cool for musicology and everything like that. And then after that, you have to grind bosses and tier up your spell. To me, that is completely fine. But if you want us to actually learn the first tier, instead of it being behind a paywall, because I feel like not many people are going to want that. It's way too much crowns. I've seen people spend up to like 120k crowns on the pack and still not even have tier 1. And that's literally a lot of money. And if they want to make it somewhat still have their aspect of free to play, is make the first tier craftable or droppable by lore master. And if you want us to upgrade it, introduce key bosses, introduce more key bosses that actually drop the spellments for it, instead of it being behind the pack. You can still have the pack, but for the first tier, I feel, or like the first initial tier, let us be able to craft it. Let us be able to like grind, or maybe even add a key boss that we can farm off, and that gives us the first tier, and then add additional bosses that can give us like the other tiers, and we just farm spellments. I feel like that would be more free to play friendly, and it's more of a grindy aspect than actually spending crowns on more and more money into the game, and we can still have that free to play aspect that Wiz actually goes by. So that's my thought process behind it. And even for the fire one, even for the ice one, there is additional ones that they have added, but they don't have a huge impact. It is, if you do have those spells, it could have a game changer in PvP and limit you, because, you know, those people spend money in packs to have the spell while you didn't. And I don't like that. I feel like it should be more free to play friendly. Grinding a boss or something like that is completely fine with me, but having the first tier, the actual tier, you have to open packs to luckily get it, and you can spend up to 120k crowns, is just not fair at all.
It's not. And like fire and ice already got a useful 4 pip spell. Death has a poison, and poison it's okay, but when you're low level, you barely getting power pips. It's not cutting it, man. It's not. So yeah, they need to change that. I hope they change it.
Yeah, and the thing is with other schools, like fire and ice have their 4 pip hits, and then you can't argue death. Oh yeah, you have Deer Knight, but you can't craft that till like you're level 50, and by the time you get there, you're already gonna have Scarecrow.
Exactly.
We need some type of, you know, like some type of inner level things that every school can have a 4 pip hit, because what they already did was they adjusted all the spells for rank 7. Every school is a rank 7 AoE. So I feel like if they're going around that route, let every school have a 4 pip AoE. Life can have a life tornado. Death can have some type of 4 pip. They can even have Death Frog, which is actually technically you can get it from pets and stuff like that. But they can have Death Frog for 4 pip AoE. That's completely fine to me. But every school at least needs a 4 pip AoE in my opinion. So that's just my topic. The next topic, which is another touchy topic in the community, is crit and block. What do you think is your opinion on the crit and block system after they changed it and everything like that?
Now, me personally, I was on stream one day and I noticed I was critting a lot more than usual. And I wasn't complaining. I was like, oh, okay, I'm critting a lot more. You know, I thought it was something good. But then it just kept happening. I noticed that it just been too easy, you know, too easy for me to do it. So I really don't have a problem with it in the PvE aspect, but I know in the PvP it could be a huge problem and dilemma. Because the story, I enjoy the story no matter what, but the bosses don't really crit either alone. So it's less of a challenge in the PvP aspect, you know, and the blocking don't really happen much either. So PvP is a problem. PvE, I don't see it as a problem.
Yeah, it honestly, I don't mind it in PvP or PvE actually, because it does speed up the game. But for some certain like final bosses, I'd say, like for example Morganth, or even, you know, old Cobb, Gunfire Spider when you fight him in Mirage, they should still have some sort of crit, some sort of block, because it actually, that's like a final boss of that area, you know. If you're having a final boss, I feel like it make it a little bit more difficult. I know cheats make it up, but even sense of like all this crit and block changes, even the shadow changes to the pips, has a huge effect on bosses, which they already created. So for example, would be when you go fight Omen. Omen works completely different now. His fight is completely different now because of one little change was on the shadow and your backlash. So Omen dies a lot more quicker, and that's because he kills himself at his own rate, because he only spells he can cast are shads, and they all require using backlash, everything like that. So since the backlash change, instead of it doing a percent chance of, you know, your base health, like right now, like let's say I have 4k health, it's gonna do a percentage of that. But since they changed it to what your max health is, now it affects bosses at the same time. So all those hard bosses that we had, like Omen and a couple others, their backlashes are just completely shredded, and they just kill themselves at their own rate. So that's one other change. And then crit and block has a big effect in that too, because when it comes to heals as well, sometimes you can block your own friend's heal, and I've actually seen that a couple times, and it's just like, why is that a thing? Why am I blocking an incoming heal? You know, that shouldn't be a thing. And for some certain instances, you shouldn't be able to, like, if I have 500 block and someone's healing me with like 200 crit, I don't think healing should have a big impact on that, because why would I block a heal that's incoming to me? Like, you're just helping me. Why would I want to block it, get rid of that? I don't want your heal. And then some certain instances are some bosses just don't crit. Sometimes it doesn't even tell you that they blocked, but you notice a damage difference because you have a minion and you can tell the damage difference. Sometimes you'll do like 6k, you'll do 6k on the minion, then you look at the boss, it does like 2k, and you're like, wait, I didn't even see the block symbol, because that's actually broken at the moment, and I don't know why that's an issue, but I want that kind of to be fixed. It's just up in there. So that's one of those issues. Another idea is, what are your thoughts on catacombs and dragoon gear that people have to craft, how the grindy aspect is and everything like that? And yeah,
I definitely think dragoon's grindy. When it first came out, I was hoping after test room that they was going to reduce the amount of reagents that you need for each of the dragoon pieces. The crystals, I rated in mine being 5 pieces because they're only 5. But every other piece, I think, is like 300 of one of the reagents, which I think is highly ridiculous to even get. So, being that said, the gear alone, the stats, I really think are pretty good for the schools. I just wish it wasn't as grindy you need, especially if you have multiple characters. You got to get each character through the dragoon and getting up the reagents. And the only hope that you have is if you're have the member benefit of having double reagents. That's the only saving grace.
so I don't know if you know this, but I think you can actually craft the gear on all one of characters and then transfer it to another character. I think that,
but like, do you need you still need a lot of reagents though, right?
yeah, so like, but like, let's say you have a storm, like, you can speed through it pretty quickly now.
Yeah, I just don't like the. To me, like, I just noticed, like, the only good boss I fought was the garbage boss. I forgot his name. King
Detrius.
Right, him. He was the best one I fought, to be honest. And he would drop it a lot, which I didn't mind fighting him. Before I fought him, I was fighting every other boss, and it was being a struggle to.
So
but go ahead.
So I think how they made the bosses in Catacombs, every boss has its own specific drops. So like King Dietrich drops the universal one, which is alchemical extract, and you can use that to craft salts and stuff like that, and you can use salts to craft crystals. I farmed what is it? What's his name? So his name's Prince Vigor. Have you fought him, or have you farmed him?
Yes.
So for him, for example, he drops more salts than he does extracts. So like for me, when I was grinding, even though it's a really long process, the extracts, the best place to farm was the garbage boss. But then if you needed salts, King Dietrich was your way. But the thing is, you also have to craft the actual helmet, or at least have a helmet. It doesn't matter what school it is, because it still works to crafting like the helmet. So you can have a balanced Vanguard Shocking Helm, and you can still craft like the Storm one, because you just need any Vanguard helm. Which, even though I don't know if that's supposed to happen, or if that's like part of the implemented system that they wanted, but on the crafting recipe it says you need Vanguard Shocking Helm, not just any Vanguard helm. So
I think that was in the system, to be honest, but they left it there.
Yeah, because it makes it, I'd say, a little bit easier, because when you're farming the garbage boss, when you farm him a long time to craft all your gear, by the end of it you're gonna have extra Vanguard pieces for other schools. So it's kind of useful for later on, but I still think it's way too much grindy. Like, I've grinded a lot of stuff in this game, whether it be badges, whether it just be doing side quests, stuff like that, or even pets, or even like farming, all that type of stuff. But farming Catacombs is a whole new mission. And the thing is, this gear is just for like, what, a couple of months maybe, or like a couple more months. Then we're gonna have like a new world, we're gonna have a new quest, and people are gonna be like, what was the point of Dragon? Like, what was the point?
Like, some people are switching their stuff now because of some of the caramel gear. Like, some people already crossing over with like some of themes and some amulets. Some people already switching over.
Yeah, because it's honestly, the caramel stuff is way more easier to craft, but you do need revered crafting. And I see a lot of people complaining about the quest that you have to do to get revered crafting, is you actually have to craft your school sword, but the upgraded version. And it costs so much stuff. And the hardest part of it, in my opinion, was the shocked keys. And there is people like, if you go to like Wizard 101 Discords and stuff like that, people sell it for empowers. So that's the only way you can really get it. Or you actually just open silver chests in your spare time, just all the time, but it's by chance. And you have to get like a bunch of other stuff, which isn't the hardest thing, but it's mainly the shocked keys, in my opinion. And hopefully that quest gets changed a little bit around, but I can understand why they're making the quest a little bit more harder and harder and harder, to a certain point where it's going to be just really, really hard. You have to spend hours just to get a certain crafting badge.
Yeah, I hope they don't make like the best gear in the game made from the Revere, because like the Revere is way too just ridiculous. Like you said, with the shocking keys and then the participation trophies.
That too.
You know, that's hard stuff to get, man. And you need like a lot of them. That's the thing too. Like, not like you didn't need a couple of them, boys. Like, you probably just need a couple of shock keys.
Yeah,
I think you need
10.
Oh, and then like the participation trophies. How much are those? Like 25.
You need 5. You need 5 of those actually. But it's still a lot. It's still a lot, because you still need like flying squid ink, which is actually kind of hard to get, because I did the whole entire Imperia and I only got 8. That's just from Imperia. I don't know if you get it in Caramel, but I only got 8. And then same thing as Shining Sails. I don't know where you get those. I haven't got a single one from those either. So everything else seems pretty easy, because you just got to craft your original sword, which isn't that hard, your original wand. Because antiquities you can get really easily. I have 102. Those aren't that hard to get to craft the original wand. But to get the shocked keys for the second one where you upgrade it, and everything else, it's a grind. I feel like it's very equivalent to Dragoon gear when it comes to how much you have to grind. But
true, 100%.
So that's the Catacombs. So another what happened?
Catacombs. This is one more thing I want to touch about the Catacombs real quick.
Yeah.
The bosses for the Catacombs, however, I thought was really unique. Like the Avalon boss for the Catacombs was super. He was super tough to fight. Like, that was super tough. But just how the boss was, I enjoyed doing that boss fight, even though it was super difficult. Even the Devourer fight, that was cool. The only fight I really didn't like was the Valencia one. Even though it was cool to see the Valencia world, which I liked, the boss fight was just longer than what I liked. It was just a repeat, to be honest. It was just repeating what wizards you had there and just fighting yourself, basically.
Yeah, I think another issue was some of the bosses like the catacombs, like the Devourer and stuff like that, were really glitchy, and I think it still is actually glitchy because when I did the quest on stream, I was stuck being swallowed in. I did not get unstuck, so it's still kind of glitchy. So be wary if you are doing the catacombs entire quest line. There is some glitches still active in there. But yeah, that's the catacombs. The next thought or the next idea is stitching mounts, because we can actually stitch gear, but we can't stitch mounts. We can stitch wands, everything like that, and change how our gear actually looks. But what do you think about stitching mounts?
I think that's really a cool idea, because a lot of mounts now, or at least new mounts, are coming out with 50%, or they'll be having 2% accuracy, 3%, or pierce alone, or maybe even damage. So mounts coming out like that, and you be able to actually stitch it with another mount with that you like the look of. I think that would be really fun addition to the game.
Oh yeah, because I don't think it'll have any really gameplay changes, really, like when it comes to battling and everything like that, because you're still gonna have your stats from a different mount. But like, let's say you like this guy's mount over here, like you really enjoyed this mount, but you still want to have your 2% accuracy of a different mount. You know, we should have that ability, because if we can just stitch our gear, we can stitch everything else. But I don't get what the issue is with stitching mounts. It's not gonna ruin the game in anything. It just changes how your gameplay looks, which is completely fine to me. So next idea is, would you like more key bosses to drop spells like Burning Rampage and Storm's Catch of the Day?
Definitely. I'm tired of Lore Master. 100%. I'm tired. Every time I go to Dragonspire, she's one of my thoughts, man, is Lore Master, and I can't stand it. And I go there a lot. One spell I did learn from her, however, is Headless Horseman. All my fire wizards. So that tells you alone how much I hate Lore Master.
Yeah, I feel like more introduction to key bosses along those ways, because then we can actually use our keys. I feel like stone keys are maybe like the ones that I feel like not many people use. I feel like wooden keys are viable in certain situations, and then gold keys are usable, but I rarely see stone keys used. So maybe add like a new stone key boss that gives us spells for either death, I think myth, some schools that haven't gotten a spell, because I believe fire has one, storm has one, and I believe life has Aphrodite. So maybe the other schools can get some more benefits and get some spells along those lines that they can farm. So like for balance, they can farm a gold key boss in Crocotopia, or maybe like death can farm something along in some kind of dark place. And for example, can't think of anything at the moment. Maybe even having a gold boss in near the Nightshade area, where the death school is, have like a boss hidden behind the school, and having a key boss right there, stuff like that. I feel like every school should have something like around that, because fire and storm and life already got their love. I feel like every other school should get their love as well, having a key boss along those lines. Another thing is, would you want the Morgant spell or the Morgant jewel being an actual spell? It's a 4-pip hit, or 4-pip spell for every school, and it's a hit, an AoE hit.
How much damage are we talking here? How much damage?
So it varies in every school. I believe it's like 10 damage vary between every school, but I can quickly pull it up real quick, because Baba Yaga is actually the only one who drops this. A lot of people farm Baba Yaga for these jewels, because some schools need it. For example, like death, if you don't want to use you know, you don't want to spend packs and stuff like that, a lot of people just farm Baba Yaga for the 4-pip. So we'll go over some of them, because mainly they're all equivalently the same. There's only like slight differences in damage. So for the balance and death, they use the same damage. It's 470, and it's a 4-pip hit, and it's a 470 damage to everybody. Would you mind that?
Yeah, I like it. I like having a Morgant spell. I think that would be really cool. It'll be really cool having one of the main villains as your spell, you know?
So I would actually enjoy that. I feel like they should give this as a reward for finishing the second arc. Like Old Cog gives it to you before, you know, he does this whole thing like talking about the other worlds. I feel like he should give this to you as a reward, or even farming Morgant. Because what I've noticed is, on this jewel, if you're level 15 and above, you can use this jewel. And I don't know why that's true, because it says no trade, no auction, and no shatter. So if you can't trade this between schools or like switching between characters, why is it level 15 as the level 15 plus as the jewel? I think that's a mishap on their part. But you can get this from packs, but if you do want to get this as a higher level, you're gonna have to farm Baba Yaga. So That's the only like caveat I guess you can say, but I don't think there's going to be a level 15 going to fight Baba Yaga because I don't believe you can teleport in that fight. So that's like another thing. For fire, it's 550 or yeah, 520 damage to all. And then obviously if you enchant it like with the epic or something like that, it's going to be like 800 damage to everybody.
That's good.
And then ice is 465, which honestly I think that's better than their blizzard. The 4-pit blizzard is a bit lower on the damage. So I honestly wouldn't mind that for ice. What about you? What do you think about the ice one?
Ice, it being 465 plus 9 out of 10, the person that's going to use it most likely have enchants on them or damage buffs. So it'll be really good. It will do the damage for sure.
Yeah, and especially it'll help out that school a lot because I believe their 4-pip hit doesn't do as much damage as it's supposed to. So it'd be a good buff to them. They can switch to that instead of using blizzard all the time. And same thing for life. Life got one that's 445 and it's an AoE hit as well. So what do you think about that for life?
Life, well, life, I wouldn't expect them to have high damage anyways. So
Yeah.
it'll be good for life. Life is mainly like the healer. Don't get me wrong, life need to be doing some damage too, but it don't need to forget like its main, its main purpose.
Yeah. And then same thing for Myth and Storm. Myth got a 500 one that does to all, and then Storm got a 495. So like the highest damage one that is out of all the schools is Fire, which is 520. And then the lowest one I believe is Life, and which would make sense because Life is predominantly a healing skill, or healing school I mean. So I wouldn't mind these as spells, to be honest, as a reward for finishing the second arc, or even just having some other place where you can actually get it. I mean, other than Baba Yaga being a jewel, but I would actually want these as spells. It gives everyone a 4-pip AoE as a reward for finishing the second arc or something like that, because when you finish Avalon, you do actually get King Art. So I feel like it wouldn't be a big issue of, getting another spell regarding a certain world. That would be cool in my opinion. What about you? What do you think?
I think all these spells are pretty good. They're even out pretty decently. They're rating all like with the ice one, the fire. Did they mention death?
Oh yeah, death was death and balance at 470 damage to all.
470. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, that's good damage. That's good.
Yeah, and
do they have different features rather? Like, do they have different benefits because they're in different schools?
No,
like
just all damage.
Oh, just all damage. Oh, okay, then that's cool. It's only 4 pips.
Yeah, so like no school is actually getting like a bonus from it. Like there's no, oh, you get a minus 25 on the enemy, none of that. So they're all just AoE spells, 4-pip, and they either do 400 damage or 500 damage, and then obviously enchant it's going to be like 700 damage or 800 damage, something along those lines.
That's really good.
Yeah, and it'll help out a lot of schools in my opinion. I mean, and plus it'll be better. I think it would be, as a cool reward, I think it would be useful. And then our last topic on the list was photomancy. And have you used photomancy really?
I use it a bit for my thumbnails. So I can take a picture for the background for my thumbnails. That's the really only reason I use it. I noticed they use it more in the new recent world of Caramel. They use it, they implement it into the story of you having to take pictures of the factories and certain things. So yeah, I use it a bit.
So I use it here and there, and I feel like it's a cool aspect of having this, but I really hope that they add some type of leveling system around it. And the reason why I'm saying that is because obviously it's not going to have a big impact on your game. It's like monstrology. It's not going to have a big impact on your game. Like you have to do this, like crafting and planting. You don't have to do those things, but it's, it's kind of recommended to. But this is like one of those things like monstrology you don't have to do. But I wouldn't mind if we had a leveling system around it and we can actually upgrade our photomancy and having a better camera, because at the moment I feel like for content creators, this is mainly for content creators. I feel like I mean, unless you are like a person who likes taking pictures just for like in general of this game, which isn't, there's nothing against that, but I feel like for content creators, let us be able to like zoom in more, because there's a cap on how much you can zoom. You can still zoom in pretty far, but for like zooming in, it's kind of hard. And for content creators who want to take pictures of bosses, make them thumbnails, or even just taking general pictures to put on the wiki or even in Discord, I feel like they definitely need to change how photomancy works. Add a leveling system, and like at certain levels, whenever you talk to the person and talk about photomancy, like the quest line for it, she's like, oh, I think you deserve a better camera to take these really good pictures or something like that. And then they can upgrade our cameras and stuff like that, and we can take better pictures and have like effects on them, everything like that. I wouldn't mind that, and it wouldn't have a, it wouldn't ruin someone's game. It's not pay to win in any way because it's just pictures. It's literally just pictures. So I would enjoy it a lot. What about you?
Yeah, especially like leveling up, you get certain filters. You unlock filters to use on the cameras and a lot of different things. Maybe even you'll be able to use different logos. Like you unlock logo pictures or even emojis inside when you're about to take the picture and something like that. Little stuff like that, I think will help. Not make the game better, but help kill some time. Make people step into it more.
So it'll change a lot, in my opinion. It'll help out a lot, and because at the moment all we have is what, selfie camera, take a picture, and then just hide players and show players, and just have a timer. But the timer isn't really useful because I don't know about you. Have you ever used the timer feature on Photomancy?
No, I never did.
Yeah, I don't think there's a real reason behind the timer. But I did like the introduction of it and having it into quests and stuff like that. Not too bad, but hopefully they don't add too many quest lines behind of it. I would rather them, instead of putting it in the main quest, have it as a side quest from the photomancy person, and increasing your camera, make it better, everything like that. I would enjoy that. But that's gonna be it for the video, guys. Just want to talk about all the topics that we had. If you guys have any more topics, let us know down below, and then I'll either add Speedster to another call, we can have another podcast type thing, or we will have different other people in the Discord from the Wizard One Discord that want to join in. I'll try to get in contact with more people if they want to do this type of content. And yeah, pretty straightforward. So any last minute thoughts, Speedster? What do you think?
Y'all just stay safe and cool out there, and I'll see you all later.
Yes, sir. So I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.